This video is sponsored by Samsung. So for the last week, I've been using two different laptops from Samsung, the Galaxy Book5 Pro and the Galaxy Book5 360. Now, I started this channel with Samsung content, but I've only really ever talked about their phones and like maybe a tablet here and there, and I've never actually had a chance to try out their laptops. However, there's some things here that from my week with these devices, I've seriously really come to enjoy, and there's some things that I don't exactly want to give up. Though these two laptops are very different from one another, the 360, well, it has a 360 hinge, which is something that I've never actually got to use in a laptop before, and both the Galaxy Book5 Pro and the Galaxy Book5 360 have a touchscreen, which again is something that I'm not really used to and feels like kind of a luxury for me since the laptops that I use don't actually have one. But one of these is positioned more as like a content creation and professional or prosumer laptop, and the other is more for like content consumption and is sort of like your office, chill laptop that you take to a coffee shop with you and that kind of thing. Although, even though one of these isn't really like a pro device, I actually still think it's very capable. Now, I kind of just want to walk you through each of these laptops first before I talk about how I've actually been using them and just kind of give my overall impressions after the first week. So starting with the Galaxy Book5 Pro, this is a very thin and light laptop. It has this really nice tapered design that makes it feel really sleek, and it still has quite a lot of ports. There's actually an HDMI 2.1 port, which supports up to 8K at 60 Hz. There's also two Thunderbolt 4 ports beside it, which is really nice to have, especially if you use like a Thunderbolt dock and actually connect it to a display. And you're also getting a USB 3.2 Type A, as well as a 3.5mm headphone combo jack and a micro SD card slot. So a while ago, I would have said that not having like a full-size SD card slot is kind of annoying, but I'm actually not in that boat anymore because I've just been using one of these like USB-C SD card readers, and oftentimes they actually just work a lot quicker. You also aren't absolutely cooking your SD card with the laptop when it gets under load. Not that this does that at all, but it kind of saves me a little bit. And what's nice about having micro SD is you actually just get easy storage expansion. So rather than using it for, like dropping media into your laptop, what's nice is that I could just plug in a micro SD card slot and upgrade the internal storage if I actually need it. I also really like the inclusion of having a full-sized USB-A port because a lot of times when I'm on the go, I like to bring a mouse and my receiver is USB-A, it's the full-size USB, and then I don't have to carry an extra dongle around, which is something that I've literally had to do for the last couple years now, and it's actually been really frustrating. You can also get this spec'd up to a Core Ultra 7 with up to 32 gigs of RAM, which is insane. But my favorite thing about this laptop is its 16x10 14-inch 3K AMOLED panel. This is the perfect size for me when it comes to a laptop display because it's super easy to travel with, but it's also just incredibly sharp, and it has a 120 Hz refresh rate, so it's super smooth. And like I mentioned before, this having a touchscreen is actually something that I've grown to really like. And don't get me wrong, while I think 14-inch is like the perfect size for a laptop, if you do like a 16-inch, they do make one as well, so that is actually really nice. Now, when it comes to the 360, the 360 that I have here isn't the Pro 360, this is the regular 360. So this is more of like the budget-friendly option. But this is a 15.6-inch AMOLED display. It's a full HD panel, although this time it's widescreen at 16:9. And even though this is more of a budget-friendly laptop, you still get the exact same port selection that you would on the Galaxy Book5 Pro, even down to these actually being Thunderbolt ports. These are both Thunderbolt 4, just like they are on the Pro. Except one thing that this laptop can do, which is the reason why it has the 360 name, is fold over. So you basically just get like a really big tablet, which is kind of cool. And even though these are both running Windows 11, Windows 11 is surprisingly really easy to navigate with a touchscreen. And because this is a full HD display, even though it's a lower resolution than something like the Galaxy Book5 Pro, I actually think it kind of works better for this application because the hitboxes for things within Windows are actually just easier to press and you don't need to use display scaling. Now, when it comes to my laptop though, I'm not gonna lie, I have a really demanding workflow. It starts light with the whole script writing and planning planning process, which I use things like Notion and Google Docs for. And then I'll use a program like Audacity to record audio for my interface with something like this microphone while I'm recording the A-roll into my camera. And then I'll dump all of that footage onto the laptop along with the B-roll that I've shot, which can be upwards of like 100 gigabytes or more, depending on how much I've actually filmed. And then I'll use a program like DaVinci Resolve in the laptop to start cutting the video up and actually editing it. And then once all of that is done, I'll head over to a program like Affinity and I'll start making the thumbnail for the video. Now, with the Galaxy Book5 Pro, this whole process has been pretty seamless. It's actually worked really well. The display is actually color accurate, and it's been really enjoyable to use for my workflow. Color grading, because of that, has been a breeze. And I'm also just a huge fan of how I can use the touchscreen within apps like Affinity for any photo editing that I need to do. Now, obviously, when it comes to video editing and specifically my workflow, I've been doing it on the Pro, but let's not actually just like get it twisted here for a second. Even though Samsung doesn't really position the base Galaxy Book5 360 as a Pro laptop, it is fully capable of doing a lot of these tasks. And that's also made a little easier by the fact that this laptop actually has the Core Ultra 7 inside with Intel Arc graphics, so it really hasn't been a burden at all. This thing is pretty powerful. And if I'm using the Galaxy Book5 Pro and I want to have like an extra display on me, because this is a little bit of a smaller screen, say I want to do like better file management or have like a playback on a different window, I could actually do that with just a Samsung tablet. A lot of people don't know this, but within the Samsung ecosystem, there's a lot of ways that these devices actually talk to each other, and with a Samsung tablet, for example, you can use this as a second display. You can do this wirelessly, so there's no need for a cable, and it's accessible within the quick settings menu, which is really easy to get to. Now, this is the Galaxy Tab A11 Plus. It's a very low-cost, entry-level tablet, and if all you need is something for signing e-documents and keeping up with your calendar or social media, it's actually a pretty nice entry-level device if you're someone who's like never owned a tablet. But like I said, I think where this is really interesting is as a companion device to the Samsung laptops, since everything within this ecosystem just kind of works really well together. Say that I want to sign like a contract for a brand deal. I could just open my email, pull up the contract on here, sign it, and then drop the PDF over to my laptop using QuickShare, and I could just submit it very easily. Carrying around something like this is also really nice because it doesn't really take up any space in my bag at all. So it's something that I might not use all the time, but if I need it, I know it's there, and it's just a nice little bonus. Though these laptops are branded as being Copilot plus PCs, and what in the world does that mean? Let me make this clear. I'm kind of like an AI skeptic a little bit. I'm just kidding, but I don't really go out of my way to actually use AI in my workflow or in my life at all. But there's actually some really useful things on these laptops that come along with them being Copilot plus machines that I think are actually kind of cool to have. For example, there's this one thing that I didn't even know Windows could do, and it's called recall. So essentially, Windows 11 Copilot PCs like the Galaxy Book5 Pro and the 360 have this feature that take a periodic screenshot of your display. It creates basically a searchable timeline for all of the activities and things that you've done. It can bring up websites that you've closed out of. It can recall things that might be in your email, like a recovery password that you'd forgotten about. And thanks to the neural processing unit in these devices, recall works on device, and it works surprisingly very well. And even having something like Copilot on these laptops is actually kind of cool. Both of these devices have a dedicated button to bring it up if I need it, and it's super helpful. Copilot can do things like draft emails, it can write documents, it can even generate images or create entire presentations. And even though I'm not someone that typically uses AI for productivity, I will say that having it on here and it being as accessible as it is on the Galaxy Book is something that I do think brings a lot of value to it. For example, I was trying to find like the cheapest flight and hotel stay that I possibly could when it comes to CES, because Vegas is super expensive, and I was able to use Copilot to just point me in the right direction. I found out Costco for me was a really good place to look, and it, I'm not even kidding, saved me like $1,200 on my package. And another thing that I found myself really enjoying about the Galaxy Book 5, specifically the 5 Pro, I mean they're very similar in this case though, is the keyboard. So I've been taking this thing around to write scripts and basically do all of like the admin work that I would normally do on a laptop, and I have fallen in love with the keyboard on this device. This chiclet style keyboard on the Galaxy Book is actually very good. It took me a little bit to get used to it, but I love how little travel there is and just how satisfying it feels to type on. I will say, ignore the fact that in this video I have like a French-Canadian keyboard layout, so you have a really small enter key. That's obviously not normal when it comes to like a US layout, but I am in Canada, and this is the one that I have on me. The speakers are also very good. They are mostly downward firing on these. You have like the grills at the bottom here, but there's enough lift because of the feet to actually still give you like a presence, and they mostly come out of the side than just being like directly targeted at the bottom. To be fair, I don't really use speakers with my laptop. I'll use something like the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro, so it's not that big of a concern to me, but they sound pretty full, and when it comes to like listening to music in the background while I'm writing, or just having like a YouTube video up, they've actually been really nice to use. Like, speakers are kind of a really big point of contention for me when it comes to laptops, because typically they don't just sound that great on a lot of devices that I've used, but these have been pretty good to work with. And the battery life has also been pretty solid. You get up to 21 hours on the Galaxy Book5 Pro and up to 24 hours on the Galaxy Book5 360, which, I mean, is pretty much in line with what I expect these days. Obviously, if you're doing like any more demanding tasks that require more of the GPU and the CPU, you aren't going to necessarily get anywhere near that mark. But that is to be expected, because the more power you use, the less battery life you actually have on here. But if you're using this just like out and about, you know, writing and looking at documents and emails, I think you get pretty close to that 21-hour estimate on the Galaxy Book5 Pro. Let's also be realistic here, because this isn't a real concern. When I am out and about using a laptop to work, I almost always just have it plugged in to get the most performance out of it. And these come with a really small 65-watt travel adapter that, I mean, this is nothing. Like, you could put this in your pocket if you really wanted to. Now, I've actually been pretty impressed with the Galaxy Book5, to be honest. Like I said, I've never used a Samsung laptop, so this was just like an entirely new transition for me. But I had a lot of fun, specifically with the Galaxy Book5 Pro, just because of what it's actually capable of. And I just want to say that I'm really impressed with how the whole ecosystem works together, specifically with how the Galaxy Tab A11 Plus works with the Galaxy Book5 Pro and the Galaxy Book5 360 to be used as like a second display and have the ability to do things like quick share, despite this actually just being a laptop. I don't use a lot of Windows laptops, like aside from gaming laptops, which are just in a whole other class of being like super bulky, very expensive, and kind of just like unreasonable as a daily device. So even though I'm like a Samsung user at heart, the S22 Ultra is what started this channel, and devices like the Galaxy Z Fold7 are just absolutely insane to me, I just never really gave the Galaxy Book a shot, and I'm glad that I finally got the chance to. So let me know if you have any questions about these in the comments down below. I don't know, if you guys want to see more like laptop content and stuff like that on this channel and just kind of stray away from using phones and whatnot, I think it'd be kind of cool to go down this rabbit hole and maybe check out even some more of Samsung's offerings and see what's in their lineup. Anyways though, that's been it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it all the way through, consider dropping a turtle emoji in the comments down below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.